Hello and welcome to 70 Years, 70 Muppets, a Muppet fan podcast presented by toughpigs.com. This is the podcast where we celebrate the Muppets' 70th anniversary with 70 straight weeks of spotlights on our favorite Muppet characters, from the most popular to the most obscure. I am this week's host, Joe Hennes, and the Muppet of the Week is Lew Zealand, performed by Jerry Nelson and then later Matt Vogel, and designed by Dave Goelz and Amy Van Gilder, making his world debut in 1978. Our guest today is one of our oldest Tough Pigs friends, an expert and walking encyclopedia of all things Muppet Show. It's David Beukema. Hello, David.
Hello. I'm super excited to talk about this weirdo.
I am so excited to talk about Lew Zealand with you. There's so much to this kind of one-note character.
I know. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that I love so much about the Muppet Show is that there are these one-note characters that sort of just blossom into other things. It's sort of like The Simpsons in that way. They just have a
Sure.
deep bench of really strange, what could be one-off characters that then find, their legs, but or not because they're Muppets. But
Yeah, totally. Right. And like, I feel like when we talk about that in terms of the Muppets, we always compare them to Lew Zealand. Like if you're talking about Mr. Poodle
hmm
Pants or Bill the Bubble Guy or whatever, I don't know, just like any of these characters that pop up and they serve
hmm
one very specific purpose, we always compare them to Lew
hmm
Zealand. So, all right, so the first question is let's talk about what makes Lew Zealand Lew Zealand. Um,
Yeah.
for me, I narrowed it down to four things, and I'm curious if you agree or if you want to add to that. But the four things I wrote down were boomerang fish, important,
That's yes, that's intrinsic to his identity.
right? His ridiculous name, which is
Uh-huh.
obviously a play on the country of New Zealand.
hmm
The equally ridiculous outfit that he wears, and I'm
hmm
including his facial hair and hair with that.
Yeah.
And his very specific Frankie Fontaine-esque voice.
Yeah, yeah. And I was looking on the Muppet Wiki before we recorded this just to remember who exactly it was that Jerry Nelson based the voice on. And Frankie Fontaine is a name that I know, but I don't know that I know any of his work. But I'd be really interested to go and have you ever listened to or seen any Frankie Fontaine
I did because when
performances?
I interviewed Jerry Nelson a million years ago, and that was where
hmm
we got this Frankie Fontaine quote from. And after that I went and watched some Frankie Fontaine stuff on YouTube.
hmm
And what's interesting about Frankie Fontaine versus Lew Zealand is that they have a very similar voice, but then Frankie
hmm
Fontaine would go and like have all this like this beautiful singing voice. It was kind of
Right.
that Jim Neighbors thing.
Yeah.
Um, right. But Lew Zealand just keeps the voice when he sings.
Yeah, when he sings, it's just New Zealand singing. Yeah.
Right.
The thing that I love about New Zealand's voice, it's so weird. It's the Target Lady character from SNL, the Kristen
Yes.
Wiig character.
Yeah.
There is an episode where I think a Kenan Thompson character describes her as being the lady whose voice box sounds like it's covered in egg. And that's kind of the same with New Zealand. It's just kind of this.
Right. Yeah. It's far back in the throat,
Uh-huh.
and it goes and it like warbles. Yeah.
Yeah. hmm
Yeah. That's exactly it. And then yeah, the Target lady does the exact same thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
Target. Yay.
It's
Yeah.
a match. Yeah. Yeah, I think the Target lady probably owes a lot to New Zealand. You
Obviously,
know,
yes.
that's where Kristen Wiig got it. You should interview
Yeah.
her for this episode.
We tried to get her, but she's like, I'd really much rather talk about Julius Strangepork. So we'll see. We'll
Oh,
see when we get
yeah.
there. Yeah.
hmm hmm
So just like thinking of all these things that we mentioned, the voice, the name, the outfit, the fish, it all kind of comes out of this idea of the Marisa Berenson episode of the Muppet Show.
hmm
That the punchline of that episode, in which, well, actually, you're our Muppet Show guy, expert. Can
Yeah.
you explain what the purpose of New Zealand was in that episode specifically?
Sure. Well, I mean, that's where he shows up at the theater, and he's never been seen before, and they just kind of threw him together from a random orange whatnot that they had. Um, and he's sort of in the background hounding Kermit all episode, trying to get his boomerang fish act on. But the main plot of the episode is that Miss Piggy, for the finale of the episode, wants to um, do a wedding sketch where she's the bride and Kermit is the groom. But of course, it's really a plot to get them actually married, and she's hired an actual priest on the sly, and it's all a trap. Um, and so Kermit knows that Lew Zealand is lurking somewhere around. So when the big moment comes that the priest asks him if he takes this pig, Kermit instead says, I I want to introduce Lew Zealand and his amazing boomerang fish. And then in this beautiful wedding sketch, Lew Zealand comes out and he's throwing fish everywhere. It's glorious.
It is a really perfect Muppet Show
Hmm.
moment. Everything
Hmm.
about it is perfect. But the idea that they needed something that would be an hysterical punchline
Hmm.
of just
Right.
the way that you say it and then the chaos that comes after it. It had to be the
Hmm.
most ridiculous thing that you could think of.
Yeah.
And it's a guy named Lew Zealand
Hmm.
who sounds like New Zealand and he throws
Right.
boomerang fish, which is the
I
dumbest thing in the world.
yeah, I've never really I mean, I understand that New Zealand's name is close. It's just one letter off from New Zealand, but I've never really figured out why they chose that as his name. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
there are a lot of fish in New Zealand, I guess,
I
but
sure fish
I don't know.
that get thrown and then
That
return.
one could fling. Yeah.
I mean, I would say the point of New Zealand, especially in this era of the Muppet Show, is that he is a random assortment of things,
Hmm.
and none of them should work on their own. But when we put them together, they still shouldn't work, and yet they do. But so my question too is about we're talking about his name, and we're not really questioning why boomerang fish
Hmm.
like it just seems natural because it's so muppety. But then
Yeah.
also, like, why does he have like the weird ruffle around his neck? And
Hmm.
why does he
Hmm.
curl his mustache into little points? It's all these random things. And
Yeah,
that's what makes Lou.
hmm well, he's one of those Muppet characters that's just such a great tribute to vaudeville because in vaudeville there were all of these specialty or novelty acts that they do one thing and they do it well, and or they or they just do it, maybe not well.
Right.
But it goes along with Marvin Suggs and his Muppaphone and Bobby Benson and his baby band. It's just weird, specific acts that in the era of vaudeville you had people who, like who only do one specific thing. There were your comedians and your singers and kind of your general specialists, but then there were the people who would come in and be like, "Oh, that's the guy who balances spoons on his nose," or "That's the guy who, juggles poodles." P.S. Don't juggle poodles. But
Not recommended. Yeah.
um, yeah, yeah, and then so Marvin Suggs and Bobby Benson and Lew Zealand, I've kind of always grouped together in my mind because they're the ones who repeated. But on the Muppet Show, you had so many of those, like Zuzu Fitzwaller, the Hungarian water juggler, and they go on and on and on.
So what do you think made a character like New Zealand work, where someone like Zuzu Fitzwaller or Zelda
Right,
Rose
right,
or
right, right.
who's the Vermin Abatement Code guy? Help me out.
Oh, is that Clive Coenga?
Clive Coenga. I love Clive
Yeah,
Coenga. He's my
yeah,
favorite. Yep.
yeah. Well, I think a lot of that has to do with Jerry Nelson and has to do with his performance um of Lou. I just finished reading Funny Boy, the Richard Hunt biography, and in that they're talking about how because Jerry Nelson had to miss the first few episodes of The Muppet Show in the first season, he didn't really have an anchor character the way everybody else did. But that freed him up to play all of these one-off characters or all of these peripheral characters like Lew Zealand and Uncle Deadly and, Angus McGonagall. The list goes on and on and on. But um, because Jerry made such a weird, specific choice with Lou. Like he comes in the door a fully formed character. It's none of that thing of like, Piggy and Fozzie evolved over the course of the season. Lou came in and he knew exactly who he was, and his voice was there, his, weird act was there. And I think because Jerry wasn't playing someone like Kermit or Fozzie, where he was always on deck with one of those types of characters, the more weird, random characters they could have Jerry playing, the better. And he's a great design. Like you said, why does he have a ruffle? Why is his mustache like that? We don't know, but it's so appealing and it's so um, just striking. It's like this weirdo. We want to know more about him and we want to see him. And I love when New Zealand just pops up in the background and um yeah, he enhances anything that he's in, any
It
scene.
I want to yes and you because
Hmm.
you're talking about Jerry Nelson not having a ton of main characters, especially compared to like
Hmm.
he's got Floyd and Robin, but
Right.
like they're not Kermit and Fozzie and Gonzo.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
so when they did do numbers where they're like everyone gets a character, I'm thinking
Hmm.
specifically about things like another opening, another show, where
Yeah.
like one of each of the main Muppet performers each have a character who are on stage at that time,
Hmm.
and like it's Lou. I mean,
Hmm.
that was in the very small stable of recurring characters that Jerry Nelson could pick up and be like, "Yep, we're gonna
Right.
put him in the scene." And I wonder if that's a big reason why, even beyond, we're comparing him to someone like Zuzu Fitzwaller, but really comparing him to Marvin Suggs, who didn't
Hmm.
do that because
Yeah.
Frank was so busy with,
Hmm.
Animal and Fozzie and Piggy
Hmm.
that that like New Zealand gets to have that resurgency every few episodes of just like, yep, still
Yeah.
here, still in the show somehow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and if you look at the first three Muppet movies too, Lou is in many ways one of Jerry's most prominent characters in those movies. Um, uh, uh, I love him in The Great Muppet Caper. I know many people who are casual Muppet fans who don't probably really know that much about New Zealand, but they always quote, um, "I brought the paper towels," you know,
It's great.
and that's another weird layer to New Zealand is that not only is he weirdly into fish, but he's always got paper towels on him.
Okay, so actually, I do want to talk about this. So the Muppet Wiki points out the fact that Lew Zealand appears in every Muppet movie, theatrical
Hmm.
or otherwise, with the exception of
Hmm.
Kermit Swamp Years, in which
Hmm.
doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. Um, and in the Muppet movie, he's in the theater at the beginning, in the bookend scenes, and like he's there
Hmm.
with his fish. Like he does have
Hmm.
his fish, and we do see it again in Manhattan, when
Hmm.
he's in the theater. But I feel like it's the kind of thing where like now that we've done this boomerang fish thing throughout the
Hmm.
Muppet Show and into these movies, and we need to give Lou something else to do. Lou was kind of forced to evolve in a way that
Hmm.
I am kind of fascinated by because we see it in, as you said, in Muppet Caper, where he's just
Hmm.
this weird dude and he has paper towels. And like,
Right.
okay, he's just part of the group, and that's what his thing
Hmm.
that he brings to the table. And then like, much later, he's part of the group in the 2011 Muppet movie where he's just doing some ninja stuff to kidnap Jack Black.
Right.
And like that totally works for him because he's the kind of character at that point where you can just kind of toss him in.
Yeah, he gets kind of folded in as a utility player when needed, you
Right.
know.
So what is it about boomerang fish that when you're like, oh, we kind of need to like give this a rest for a minute, that lends itself to paper towels, to
I
ninja, to
don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he does have a little bit of fish stuff in Great Muppet Caper because he has when they're playing baseball with the baseball
Oh, that's
diamond, he
true. Yeah,
does
he's
have
he's
the
swimming with the
big
fish. Yeah,
fish that
that's
he's
true.
batting with.
And I'd
Um,
be remiss also to mention, he does throw a boomerang fish in Muppet Christmas Carol.
that's
I,
true.
I
Yeah.
I had forgotten about that until this very moment.
Mhm,
So someone was
mhm.
gonna shout it out on the comments section here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they all, I mean, this is not meant to be a pun, but the boomerang, they always come back to the boomerang fish. It's
Yeah,
like, in a very merry Muppet hoo-ha, he's throwing fish in that and but he can do other things. It's like,
right. Yeah,
yeah, he's the fish guy, but he'll also go on, that ninja outing. He'll do all of these other things.
yeah. Lou is truly like this. This is the what's the word I'm thinking of? Like the antithesis to Lew Zealand is Lew Zealand because he's such a one note character that he can do anything.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
does that mean?
Well, I mean, I guess it does give him some versatility in that he's kind of a blank slate outside of his one gimmick. So,
Yeah,
like, yeah, why not make him be a pirate on the Hispaniola? And why not, have him living in the house with everybody in Muppets from Space? And why not have
yeah.
him a backstage um worker on the ABC Muppet Show?
It,
Um,
it almost seems like my gut is I want to be able to say there's nothing that you can't do with New Zealand, but I think that's not true.
mhm.
I think there is something you can't do with New Zealand, and that's give him too much of a spotlight. Like we don't want to see the New Zealand show. That's too much.
No, no, and we don't want his backstory necessarily because the beauty is the randomness. And I think, I mean, if we make that parallel with The Simpsons again, The Simpsons has been on for what, 30 something years, and they're running out of ideas, and so they're doing episodes that are, based on comic book guy or
Right. Yeah.
Disco Stew, these characters that work better as peripheral characters. And so I'm really glad that we've never like met Lew Zealand's mom or you
This
know,
is this is the first argument I've ever heard for like, I'm so glad we don't have 300 episodes of the Muppet Show.
well, now, hey, wait a minute, because I would love that.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't think even if we had had 300 episodes of the Muppet Show, we would have had a Lew Zealand specific episode.
that's
I think that
and even if we had like that would have been, like our
Mhm.
special guest star is, doing something with fish and New Zealand is also there. Like
Right,
it wouldn't have been
right.
let's follow New Zealand home. Nobody
No,
wants
no.
that.
Yeah, I mean, the Marisa Berenson episode is, I think, really the only time he figures into the plot of an
Right. He has
episode.
good spotlights throughout,
Oh
like
yeah,
I'm thinking
absolutely.
specifically of like Leslie Uggams. He gets a whole number with her, which is really
Uh-huh.
nice.
Yeah,
But you're right about the plot, not so much.
yeah, I love the Harry Belafonte episode where he and Rolf get to sing T for Two backwards,
Love it.
which is and that is a perfect thing for Lou to do because it's so random and
It's
it doesn't
so
need to be
random.
explained in its
E-
randomness.
Exactly, exactly. You and I started this conversation before we started recording, talking about the merchandise. You
Right.
showed me you have the
I've got
Palisades
my
New
got
Zealand
my
with you.
Palisades right here, which
So
is one
for
of my favorite figures. It's a beautiful, perfect figure.
tell me why above the other Muppet figures does
I
this
mean,
stand out to you?
it just captures his likeness perfectly. The paint is great, and I just think he's such a visually appealing character. That bold red on his jacket, which contrasts nicely with the bright orange of his skin, and he's got that weird like wall-eyed thing
Yep.
where his
Is
eyes
that a
are
fish
on.
joke?
I keep making these unintentional jokes, but Yeah, we'll say it was. We'll say it was
Sure, yeah.
intentional.
What are those pants called that kind of bow out like a Mountie?
Yeah, I don't know what they're actually called. But I mean, Lou's eyes are almost in a straight line with his nose. They're so you
Yeah.
know, on either side of his nose. A lot of Muppets have them kind of up above the nose, like our eyes, but his are sort of one, two, three,
Yeah,
right
yeah,
next to
that's
each
you're right.
other.
That's kind of unique to his character,
Mhm.
to his
Yeah.
design.
I remember when I got this was from series three of the Palisades line, and it was definitely my favorite of that line.
Yeah.
Um,
Just the
and
fact that they made a New Zealand at all was
hmm
such a
hmm
treat.
yeah,
Because I think God, we could talk about Palisades for a long time, but the
yeah,
fact
that's
that
another
it's like
podcast.
you're right, yeah. Like once you get past the Kermit and the Fozzie and the Piggy and all that, and
Hmm
it's like, well, you got to start going to the B characters. And actually, you really
hmm
have to go to the D characters because you want to appease the fans and you want to build the
Right.
world and you don't want to leave nothing, for series 11. But
hmm
yeah, the fact that I mean, there's so little New Zealand merchandise in the world, which is
Yeah.
a crime.
And on that subject, when I was in college, my freshman year, this would have been 2000, 2001. I was in some, I think it was a Shakespeare class or something. But there was a girl in that class who was wearing a New Zealand t-shirt. And I had never seen a New Zealand t-shirt before, not
Whoa.
online, not for sale anywhere. And I think it was a drawing of Lou, and then it just had, his kind of catchphrase, I throw the fish away and they come back to me. And in hindsight, I was pretty annoying to this girl because I just kind of like glommed onto her and I
Yep.
kept asking her, "Where did you get that shirt? I need that shirt. Can I buy that shirt from
Oh
you?"
my
And
God.
I just started, offering her exorbitant amounts of money, and she was like, no, no." Um, and so if this girl happens to listen to this podcast, I don't even remember her name, but I'm very sorry for haranguing you over your New Zealand shirt. And I don't even know if it was maybe like a homebrew t-shirt, something that was unique, because I still have never seen it anywhere online. But
Yeah, I mean, to my knowledge, I've never seen a New Zealand t-shirt. And
mhm,
like this is one of those things where because New Zealand is that kind of fan favorite character where people recognize him, like they know who he is,
mhm.
even if they don't really know who he is, or like
Yeah,
they
they
might remember the
probably
paper
say
towel
that's
or
the
they might
fish
remember the
guy.
fish.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. There's nothing stopping Disney from making a t-shirt or making a
hmm
mug or something like that. Like, come on,
hmm
Disney products team.
I know,
Give
get
us our
on
New
it.
Zealand stuff. David will pay so much money for it, obviously.
Well, I mean, 18-year-old David would.
Right.
42-year-old David has bigger fish to fry.
Ah, there's
Mhm.
another one.
Yeah.
What is
Um,
your ideal New Zealand merchandise? Like we have the action figure. So like what
right.
is there that you want to see? What that you want to have in your home?
Boy, I don't know. Maybe like a New Zealand apron, something about a fish fry, for when you're cooking fish.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Okay.
or I mean, I don't know where I would ever wear the New Zealand ruffle, but that'd be kind of cool to
Just the
have.
ruffle.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
You know.
sure. I feel like you could pull off a good New Zealand cosplay. You get the
Yeah,
ruffle,
that'd be
you get
fun.
the
Actually,
red jacket with the tails.
yeah, that would be a really fun Halloween costume. I've never thought about being New Zealand for Halloween, but
Start growing your
maybe
mustache
maybe I
now.
gotta do it. Yeah. I know. Well, I mean, I'm not I have like eight discernible chest hairs, so I can't grow facial hair that well. I'm not a hirsute person, Joe.
I
It'll
am.
have
I'll
to be
lend you a
glued.
mustache. Don't
All
worry. I
right.
got your back.
It'll
Yes.
have to be glued on.
Great.
Yep.
Do you have any other fond memories of New Zealand? Any other favorite moments that you want to mention?
Well, it's not so much a moment, but it's an affectation of his. I love that he calls Kermit Mr. the Frog.
Oh yeah.
That's just another weird specific. It makes me laugh. Other favorite New Zealand moments. Um, well, he's actually in the background for a number that Mac Davis did on the Muppet Show. He and Link sing "It's Hard to Be Humble," and
Mm,
then
yeah.
it's one of those things where the guest stars start singing out with one Muppet, but then everybody else comes in and backs them up, and Lou is among them, and Jerry is singing the high harmony for that song in his Lou voice.
Oh,
So everybody else is just singing real pretty, and then you hear Lou wailing it up above everybody else, and it's great. And I just really love that. I mean,
I guess I
and
have to go back on my Frankie Fontaine note from earlier about Lou's not having this beautiful singing voice, because he does. He does have a great
well,
singing
I mean,
voice.
he
I
does,
mean,
but
it's
it's
the Lou
definitely
voice.
Lou's voice. It's not like
Totally,
he
yeah.
suddenly busts out like Pavarotti or something.
Right. Although
Yeah,
Lou, I
that
think he's
could be
got it
it.
in him.
Um, yeah, his number with Leslie Uggams is so great because it's all terrible fish puns.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and just anytime Lou pops up in the background, I'm a happy boy because he's fun to look at, he's fun to watch,
yeah.
um,
And
yeah,
he adds so
he's a
much
weirdo.
to like the palette of the Muppets, where we've got all
Hmm.
these like animals and these like abstract characters like
Right.
Gonzo,
Hmm.
and here's this guy. He's a whatnot, which is
Hmm.
also important to point out that he is a whatnot that has
Hmm.
graduated from being a
Yeah,
whatnot to being like a specific build that,
right.
it's not just interchangeable eyes and nose and all that stuff. And to have a character like that really stands out against the pattern of like all the rest of
Hmm.
the crazy Muppet clan.
Hmm.
I think is really cool and kind of important to know that like the Whatnots are characters as well.
Yeah, well, I mean that I think that was part of the beauty of them. And you see this on Sesame Street too with anything Muppets. If you build a good enough um, whatnot or anything Muppet, they can, make it as a full-fledged character, you know. Um, and that's really cool. There are lots of characters on the Muppet Show that were kind of a whatnot base, but then used multiple times.
Yeah,
Marvin Suggs was a whatnot base, and Bobby Benson is the same whatnot base as Wayne. And um,
sure. Or even like on Sesame Street, you've got like the Count. The Count was a Whatnot, or
yeah,
it wasn't anything Muppet.
exactly.
I think what the whole thesis to New Zealand here is the potential of
Hmm.
being something small, being something temporary, and then
Hmm.
turning into something larger. Being a
Yeah.
whatnot, turning into a full-fledged character, being a one-note character, and being something that has so much. I'm not depth really, but like
Yeah.
a repetition, like appear,
Right.
like the fact that they are a solid member of the larger troupe.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I kind of love that for him. I'm so happy for his
Yeah.
success.
I know. Good job, Lou. But I think the real beauty of um, New Zealand is that he keeps the Muppets weird. At a time, or sometimes, the Muppets can get um, you know, there are characters that have depth, like Kermit and Piggy and Fozzie and everything. And then you need those characters that are just a weirdo who loves to throw fish and carries paper towels around for emergencies. And that's all he needs to be. You don't need like New Zealand's um, you know, interpersonal relationships with the other characters. Who knows if New Zealand and Scooter hang out on the weekends or whatever? Who cares? New Zealand is just New Zealand. He's just there to be weird, and he's he's like he's like Portland, like there Portland Portland has that slogan, keep Portland weird, and
Yep,
um New Zealand is keep the Muppets weird.
that's
That's
right.
his purpose.
What an important job that is.
Right.
And speaking of keeping things weird, thank you, David, for being here on this podcast.
Are you
It
saying
was
I'm weird? Is that the segue you're making?
Ah!
I'll
No,
save
I'm
it.
saying that like I love getting into the weeds of the weirdness with you about
Oh,
Muppets, about Lew Zealand.
anytime. Hmm.
It's such a joy to have you here on this podcast and to really break open what makes Lew Zealand Lew Zealand.
Yeah, well,
Important
thank
work
you.
we're doing here.
I know. We should be getting government funding, but maybe for the next episode.
We'll see.
70 Years, 70 Muppets is a Muppet Fan podcast presented by toughpigs.com. Hosted by a whole myriad of people and edited by them as well. Produced by Jared Fairclough. The Muppets 70 logo used with permission by the Muppet Studio with thanks to Danny Iglesias, Frank Reif-Snyder and Lee Slaughter. Don't forget to follow toughpigs.com on all social media platforms. You can support us by heading to patreon.com/toughpigs or buying a t-shirt at tpublic.com/toughpigs.